Hello! Welcome to this instructional video for making these Christmas cards. Here are 4 different ones that I made as an example. As you can see, there are many different colored sunsets as well as different words or Christmas-inspired Bible verses. You can really be as creative as you want to be with these in terms of color and composition. One thing I want to say before we get started is that you might want to have an idea of how you want to arrange your words before you get started. So for that Joy to the World card, I just used that space at the bottom. And if you know this is how you want to do your card, just make sure when you sketch it out that you have enough space at the bottom for whatever words or verse that you chose. So these are the end product of what we're going to be making, just so you have an idea of where we're going throughout this video. Alright, let's jump in. So here I'm starting with 2 different sizes. The right one is a 4x6 and the left is 5x7, and that's in inches. So I'm going to start with a pencil outline of the silhouette portion of this card. And on the right you can see the final outline. I started with the star, and this can be whatever kind of star you'd like. I did a sort of kite-shaped star. So then I just followed that midline down to the top of the barn. Once I have the outline of the barn, I drew the outline of my Jesus in the manger, and then I moved on to Joseph, and then to Mary. If you need to, just pause this video and copy the outline on the right. So now I'm outlining the pencil with a pen. You want to make sure you use a pen that won't bleed with water, and you can test this out by writing on a separate paper and then brushing water over to see if it bleeds. And if you don't have a water-safe pen, you can just outline everything in hard pencil, which is what I'm doing in this portion. When you erase, all the soft pencil outlines will disappear and you are left with a hard pencil outline. So now I have 2 pencil outline sketches on the right and 2 pen outline sketches on the left. And so now we're ready to paint. So I'm going to start with one of my pen outline sketches. So here I have my paint palette, and you also want to make sure you have water and some brushes. So now that I have everything ready to paint, I'm going to start with a star. So with my water and brush, I'm going to test some colors on my palette. I'm starting with some yellow/orange for the star. So as I'm mixing this color, I don't really like the color and I want to add more yellow to my palette. So I'm going to mix this until I get the color that I really like. Alright. So I like this color now, so I'm going to start with a small circle around the star. And use as much water and paint as you need to get the color and look that you really like. So once I have this main circle around the star, I'm just going to finish with a ring of water around the edge. Alright, so now we're ready to work on the sunset. So I start at the top and go from dark to light down at the bottom. And you can get creative with your colors here. So for this one, I started with a dark black, almost blue at the top. And as you paint this, you want to avoid the ring around your yellow star, just so it doesn't bleed into it. So I'm working my way down into lighter colors or different colors. So I went from that black, and now I'm moving into blue. And you just blend with water as you go down. Alright, so now that I've painted all around the star, I'm going to use water in a circular motion around the star to blend the color into the sky. So I'm just going to keep doing this, going around in a circle until I get the blend and the shape that I like. I'm just going to add a little more yellow to make it pop. And then I'm going to blend the outside with more water. Okay, so now I'm going to finish out my sunset. So I moved from that blue and I blended with some water, and I'm going to go into this really vibrant pink red color. So my goal for this one is to blend it all the way down into a yellow. So I'm just going to follow the colors of the rainbow. So I moved into orange, and then yellow at the bottom. And then I'm blending all these colors back up with water. And I'm gonna make that yellow more circular, so I'm gonna just blend with more water in the motion until I get it just the way I like it. And there it is. So that's the painting portion. Like I said before, this is where you can be as creative as you want in regards to the color. So you don't always have to start with the dark black or blue that I did. You can see from these other two examples that you can do other colors as well. So I'm still starting with that star on both of these examples. And I've really got two pretty different color palettes going on here. And you can see really how creative you can be in your combinations and how bright you can get. Just make sure that when you pick your colors that you mimic the sunset, and that you always go from a dark at the top to light at the bottom. And then just remember to blend your colors with water as you go. And you get a really nice and even gradient between the colors. So you're going to see that on this one on the left, I had to use a paper towel because some of the dark color was bleeding a bit too much into my yellow, and I didn't want that. I wanted a good defined shape. So I just dabbed it with a paper towel, as you'll see. So right here it started bleeding, and then I dabbed it with a paper towel. And then I just added yellow back to get that nice circle and bright color that I really wanted. Okay, so now I've done 4 examples of different sunsets. Now we're going to fill in the outline of the silhouette with pen. You can use whatever type of pen you have available for this. Typically I use some kind of felt tip pen. For this one I just used a black fine tip Sharpie. So this is when we did a pen outline, so I'm just filling in all those dark places and shading it in. This one we did with a pencil outline, and you can see that it worked just as well as the pen outline. So once we've shaded in our outlines, we can do the writing portion. So I've done all of my shading, and I'm going to do the writing. So I have several different size pens for this. The smallest one that I have is 0.1 millimeter, and then I have a 0.2 millimeter, and then my largest is 0.4 millimeter. You can see each of these sizes practically there on the right. So generally I use the smallest pen, the 0.1 millimeter, when I'm writing in cursive, and then I'll go back over it with something thicker. So for here, I actually recommend that you plan out what you're going to write in pencil just to make sure you like how it looks and everything fits nicely in the space. Now I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in with my pen. So there you can see I'm writing one of my favorite Christmas verses, and I have a combination of cursive and block letters. So for my cursive, to make it more look like calligraphy, I'm going to use this 0.2 millimeter pen. So for this, a good trick is for every downstroke you make with your pen, you make that stroke thicker. And this gives it that calligraphy look without having to use an actual calligraphy pen, which can be quite difficult, and I have a hard time using them. You can write in whatever type of font you want, or even if it's just your handwriting. But this is just an example of what I would have done in this case for this card. So I'm just going to fill it in all my cursive letters with this technique. Okay, so then for my block letters, I want them to stand out just a bit more. So I'm going to use this 0.4 millimeter pen, just because it's thicker, to thicken all of those letters. And you can make this as thick or as thin as you like, it's really just based on your preference. You really don't even need to have the different size pens either. You could just use the same pen you used to begin with and just continue going over it with that pen to make the lines as thick as you want. Alright, for this one, because I have all that space down there at the bottom, I wanted to include the entire verse that the top part is a part of. So I've written that in the space below, as you can see. This verse is from Isaiah 9:6. I just really like the way it looks on the page together. I'm also going to show you a couple more compositions for how to use this space differently. So for this next card, I really like the way the sky looks with the colors, so I don't want to write over it. I'm just going to use that space down below. And here I didn't use a Bible verse, I just used a popular Christmas song. And as you can see, I did cursive again with the calligraphy technique. Another example is similar to the first one I did. This one is also inspired by a popular Christmas song, but that song is inspired by a Bible verse. You can see that I've chosen to do the cursive writing again, which, as you probably have noticed, is my favorite. So here I'm filling in my downstrokes once more. So because this card is smaller, I didn't want to write out the entire verse in the space below. So I just ended up writing the reference for the verse that kind of inspired this song. And I like this idea because then the recipient of the card can go and look up the Bible verse on their own and read it for themselves. So this verse is Isaiah 7:14, which says, "Therefore the Lord will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel." And Emmanuel means God with us. So for this final card, it is basically another one with a portion of a verse written out in cursive, and then I wrote out the entire reference verse in the space below. For this cursive, I didn't do the calligraphy technique where I darkened the downstrokes. I just darkened every stroke, so I just made the lines thicker. And then wrote the verse underneath. So here are my 4 cards that you can see, with the different colors, different references, and words written out. And really, there's so many different ways you can do this with your own colors, your own favorite Christmas verse or encouragement, and even your own handwriting and composition. And you can still get a really pretty card. So I hope this was helpful and you had a lot of fun and that you really made this card your own.